venture, social venture, creative venture. We also have a healthcare track, so if you've got a healthcare company, we have a track specifically for that, supported by Blue KC. And then finally, we have a community track from the Bloch community startup track. So multiple tracks for you, lots of money, lots of opportunities to get involved. If you've got something you're working on, submit to that. Our submission deadline is April 2nd. So use the link up here, tinyurl.com, and that will take you directly to the form to show interest in those awards. So get that in, and you can check out the dates here. Next up, if you have an idea, want to get started, and need some support, we are taking applications for our eScholars program for the fall. So we run a program every fall and every spring. If you've got an idea, if you've got something you're currently running, if you've got a business that you want to grow, if you've got a side hustle you want to turn into a full-time gig, eScholars is a great program. We take you through a semester-long program where you get course credit for starting your own business, which is a pretty cool opportunity. Highly recommend you check that out. Anyone that's doing a business degree, especially entrepreneurship majors, this counts towards your degree. So check that out. Great way of getting credit and starting a business. So with that, that's all my announcements. I'm going to turn it over to Craig Moore, the director of Kansas City Venture for America. Craig?
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. How's everybody doing today? Get a little bit of energy. Get a little bit of energy. I know it's the end of the day. But I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you all about Venture for America. I brought some of my friends along within the community, and I'm actually going to take this time just to let you all kind of introduce yourselves after I get done talking about me first. So my name is Craig Moore. I am the director for Kansas City and Venture for America. I've been in the Kansas City startup community for over a decade, but just recently joined VFA about 1.5 years ago. Just excited to be able to be a bridge for young, diverse talent to get more involved in the startup communities across our 13 cities. Kansas City, of course, being home, but we also stretch across from Miami to Philadelphia to Cleveland, just kind of name a few of our cities that we cover. But I want to pass to my immediate left, Yvonne, and you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, guys. My name is Yvonne, fellow RU. I actually graduated here in May of last year and current VFA fellow. I'm currently working at Novel Capital right now, which is actually just pretty close to here. It's on Metcalf and 65th. And I'm from Kansas City. Ever since I was about 5 years old, I've been living here. So I have a lot of ties and really just wanted to stay and kind of give back to the community here because I know I've learned so much, and I'm just really excited to see what VFA has got in store for us over the next 2 years. So I'll pass it to Joanna.
Hey, I'm Joanna Minix. I also graduated from UMKC Grant Thornton, so did public accounting for a while. Went to Venture for America, really wanted to break into venture capital, startups. So I went to 5 Elms Capital here in town doing B2B software investments, got exposed to a lot of different industries, and knew I wanted to be on the operating side after seeing the investment side. So now I'm at a startup here in Kansas City called Exponent. We are trying to change the landscaping space, especially within finance and accounting recruiting, so something I'm pretty passionate about coming from that industry. We operate across the United States, so lots going on there. We can talk about that more later, but I am an alum of VFA as well, so I've done my time there, but love staying involved and had a great experience through the program.
Buddy, can you hear me? Okay. Chris Raycamp. I am not a UMKC alum, but I am absolutely in love with Venture for America. I was not a fellow either. I actually came to Venture for America about a decade ago, working at the University of Maryland and supporting student entrepreneurs, and having VFA walk through the door and talk about the value of this experience for students to get real-world hands-on experience side by side with experience or scaling startups, and to have that reference point in the world and the opportunity to learn alongside them for 2 years, and then have an organization that has real infrastructure and network to get you onto your own track in terms of, you know, entrepreneurial ventures and in venture capital. So I saw that be really impactful. I saw many of the VFA alumni come back and be just astoundingly good mentors in our entrepreneurship programs, and create great experiences for the young entrepreneurs at the University of Maryland. I left Maryland, went to Hawaii, and then came here a couple of years ago. So my current role is at UMKC in the Innovation Center. So I work with early tech founders in the community. We have Digital Sandbox, Proof of Concept Fund, and some other programs to support early stage innovators and work closely with the team here. I'm really proud to be connected with all that they're doing. But my current role with VFA is as a board member, and I try to tie our incoming fellows with our local startup community. Yeah, so thanks for having me.
Wow. I've been trying to click this clicker for like 10, 15 minutes, and I don't know if the battery's dead or if I'm not pointing in the right space. There we go. Sheesh. All right, so we're just going to run through just a little bit about what Venture for America is about. And it's really about getting you all involved in the startup ecosystem. Lord have mercy. And what we felt like we needed when we first came into Inception is just like, we need more problem solvers, we need more innovators, more entrepreneurs, and I'm probably gonna give up on this slide because we probably need more batteries inside this clicker. But really it's about how can we take the innovative ideas that you all go through to make sure that you all are being able to have holistic support when it comes to growing that idea to an actual startup and an actual viable business. So it comes with our mission. Is it over there? Oh, what's going on? All right, yeah. So yeah, our key drivers, the key driver of entrepreneurship is inspires innovation and improves the impact, and it creates jobs. And that's ultimately what we want to do when it comes to spreading you all across our 13 cities, is being an economic impact to those cities. Our mission is, click. All right. Venture for America is creating economic opportunities in American cities by mobilizing the next generation of entrepreneurs and equipping them with the skills and resources they need to create jobs, right? So all of that encompasses that, and I'm actually about to just run it without this. No, we're fine. And so just a little bit about the fellowship and how you all kind of get engaged. This is a 2-year fellowship. So once you graduate, you go through our selection process. If you are selected into the fellowship, you are then exposed to our company partners across all 13 markets. And from there, you actually pitch to be a part of their company. And it gives you a whole lot of different opportunities to be able to be in a new space, to try an industry that you've always thought you wanted to be a part of. And the whole goal is to give you that real-time experience to actually what it takes to create a startup, so that you can be able to have those skills. One of our board members, Chad Feather, who is also a UMKC grad, he describes it as a fast-tracked MBA program. And I really want to kind of turn to Yvonne, since you just recently came through the process. Tell us a little bit about your experience when it came to being selected for a fellow, and then actually getting into the job that you're in right now.
Yeah, so the process was pretty intuitive. It started off with a little bit of just kind of get to know me as a person and what I'm looking for in terms of, post-graduation experience. Particularly, I was looking at something more entrepreneurial because I was a finance major and wanted to, just like Joanna, get more operational experience, and did a couple semesters of venture capital internship here in Kansas City my senior year and got exposed to it that way. And from there, I mean, the process was initially just a couple interviews to, like I said, get to know me. Then further along, it was the big kind of event was a super day where we have all of, you would say, the people who are kind of in this final spot for consideration, where they all come together and you have basically a full day of just activities and interviewing, and it was a lot of fun, you know, getting to meet people who I would afterwards, you know, call fellows, you know, from the same class of mine, and kind of getting to understand a lot of what VFA values and the mission statement. And then after that, the people who were chosen, the most exciting part, I think, for me was the summer camp, which was in Detroit this year. And that's basically a 2-week-long excursion out to Detroit at Wayne State University, which all of the fellows, I think there was around 150 of us.
Yep.
We all came together kind of like, you know, the start of college, living in dorms again, and bonded together and got to meet everyone. So there's a lot of activities there and a lot of new connections, and it was just a very eye-opening time, both to learn about myself and then, you know, the people that I would surround myself with for the next 2 years in the fellowship.
Yeah, and so I think one of the biggest values of being a part of the fellowship is that you get an immediate community, right? As he said, when he went to training camp, you know, there was 150 fellows. That's actually our smallest class that we've had in the decade that we've been a part of, that we've been an organization. So this is just a few stats, just kind of let you know about that community. Like I said, we're in 13 different cities. There's over 1,500 fellows across the nation. And then when you get into, after your two-year fellowship and you actually want to start a company, you want to start a business, that's where we kind of unlock our alumni opportunities to where you can be a part of our accelerator program. We have an evergreen fund where we actually invest into our companies as well. And then, again, it just kind of continues to stretch you out. So to date, we've actually invested over $750 million in capital raised for our current fellow founders right now. So, yeah, we talked about access. Yep. We talked about that good stuff, too. That's all the stuff that I was trying to click through. So I wanted to actually just kind of give you guys just an idea of what that fellow roadmap looks like. Again, you apply. Once you go through the selection day process, and actually I'm going to pause right there because, Joanna, I think that you can give a real insight into what selection day was for you. To me, this is our gauntlet. You know, in that application process, you submit a survey, we review that survey, and then we say, okay, you can go on to the next process. From there, you do a video interview, and then if you are accepted from the video interview, you're then asked to attend selection day, which is just a full-on day of just experiences. So, John, I would like for you to kind of go in depth about what was your experience through selection day, what are some of the things that you feel like you grabbed, and what kind of pushed you to kind of actually go after that job after selection day was finished?
Selection day was my favorite part of the process. You arrive with a bunch of fresh-faced individuals who have no idea what's coming, and so you all are separated into groups and going through different group interviews and activities. So the judges are not only asking you questions to see how you approach different problems, how you're thinking about different scenarios, but also how you're interacting with other people. So are you someone who asks the silent person in the group what they're thinking and helps them contribute? You know, are you completely taking over the conversation? And so they're looking for not just somebody who has business knowledge or whatever type of industry they're going into, but how do they work with others? And so walked away from it with some great friends that have now gone on to start their own companies and have been successful through VFA. So great experience.
Love it. And so to me, that is where we really kind of identify those premium fellows so that we can be able to truly support these early stage startups who are really looking for somebody to join their company to take them to the next level. And so, yeah, application day, selection day, onboarding. So then we go into training camp. Training camp is, it used to be 4 weeks, but now it's 2 weeks. And we kind of just teach you all about, what it is to be a VFA fellow. We really have a team aspect to that. Once you have that logo on, you represent us across the nation. And so we want to make sure that in these 2 weeks, we're not only preparing you to be a leader in your city, but also a leader of VFA. Chris, I would like for you to kind of talk to me about, in your experience, in your 10 years of being across different cities, engaging with VFA, what do you feel like are the most common themes or common aspects that you found in the fellow that you was impressed with?
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I think you experience folks at within a university want to be in a startup, but you don't have typically anything that tests you in that environment. So I think what you spoke to is like that first version of that, what we're trying to see in selection day is get into an ambiguous circumstance, have a hard problem, and see how you react to that, and how you can collaborate, and how you can solve problems with people in a meaningful way. And so we talk a lot in Kansas City with the board and VFA here about supporting the fellows and bringing great talent, because that's what I've always seen students that get through this process and are sincerely excited about and invested in VFA and getting into the entrepreneurial community. They're huge assets, right, to those entities, and it's an absolutely unique pipeline for startups. So I talk to our startup side of this and say, this is why you want to engage with VFA, because they do a really good job vetting folks and getting them ready to be unique actors within the startup ecosystem, both on the VC and the startup side. And so I think it's folks that that want that they want to be part of the community sincerely. We want to support that, and that within their entities, they take that selection day energy, that they're good collaborators, they're good problem solvers, they can work across many spaces. For any of you that have been in kind of a startup-ish environment, you understand that you're resource constrained and you're trying to grow, and so you don't have a designated necessarily, you get to wear this hat and be the finance person all day and that's it. Like, you're going to be asked to do things that there's not structure around, there's not a standard operating procedure to go do this thing. You're going to be asked to go out and find ways to solve problems. And so that's what I think the process of VFA does a really good job of introducing you to as a potential fellow and vetting folks out that are sincere about it. And then I think we do a pretty good job bringing company partners in, and we're going to continue to do that are looking for really unique talent, and that have the capacity to give a really great experience and vantage point to these hungry, young, entrepreneurial-minded students. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. It answered my question pretty well.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing about this is, right, for me as a community director, once you actually land that job and you get to a city like Kansas City, I want to make sure that you not only are connected to the job, but you're connected to the community that I want to implant you into. And so as community directors, I want to identify what are your interests. What are other communities that you want to be a part of? How can I make sure that you feel supported throughout your entire journey? And then also, it's more than just a 2-year fellowship. You have the opportunity to really take this company that you're working for to the next level. Like I mentioned, Chad Feather, when he came here in 2017, 16, 17, he worked for Doppler and was just an analyst at the time. And today, now he is the chief operating officer of that company. But then also you have that opportunity to where they need you right here in a finite moment, and you have somebody like a Maggie Phillips. She was also a UMKC alum, and she now works for Ida Smart as their director of operations, and she just came into the fellowship. This is her first year, and she's truly changing how that organization operates and grows. And I mean, the packages that you all can possibly receive, we could talk about that just a little bit too. On average, last year, our fellows, they would come in at salary about $55,000. all fellows have to have some sort of benefit, so whether it's a full package benefit or a stipend to help cover your health care provided by the company partner. But then also there's stock options, right? We do have a fellow who has about, I believe it's 4% stock options inside their company. So you can be able to truly grow. And let me put that in context a little bit too. Say perhaps, right? We just had RX Solutions come out, and they're getting close to an exit about $850 million. And say that fellow has those options within that exit of 4%. That's a pretty life-generating income on top of that 55K. And so those are the possibilities. It's not every possibility, but really that's on you all when you all apply for the fellowship to ensure that you're going to come in, you're going to add immediate impact, and you're going to add value so that those options are available. I mean, honestly, y'all, I'm actually to the end about to ask some questions, but I want to give you all some parting words or give me your elevator pitch on why you feel like anyone in this room should apply for the fellowship.
Yeah.
Hang on. Did Chad Feathers start at Casey Rise or at Doppler?
He started at KC Rise,
Yeah.
and then he went to Doppler.
So I think that's an important part of the process.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
he actually had an interesting story that, just for reference point, he started on the VC side and then joined a portfolio company, which is also a really cool trajectory. So I'm just going to note that because that's an alternative. But
My bad,
let's
Chad.
pitch. You were gonna go.
But yeah, anybody.
I think if you're somebody that's thinking long-term about your career right now, you know, you can go the traditional path after college, which is what I did. Honestly, I didn't want to take a risk. I was too scared of failing, so I went the safe route. That was accounting, public accounting. And luckily, I think I pivoted early enough to kind of switch that. But I think you have to think for yourself, you know, do I want to be on an ownership path someday, whether that means you're owning the company or you have stock options within the company? And that ultimately just accelerates your career. You know, do you want to put in the work right now early, take the risk while you don't have people depending on you? Most likely, some of you may already have that. But I think just looking ahead and trying to see if that's a feasibility for you in your life right now. I think if I could go back, I would just take more risks while in college and do more of the resources and accelerators and innovation studios that are available here. I mean, it's just the safest place to fail, and that's what kind of VFA is too. It's a safer place to fail than just kind of going out on your own. And then lastly, I think the other biggest thing for me with VFA is just the mindset shift, being around individuals who aren't risk averse, and they taught me a new mindset of if you have an idea, you should do it. And I've quickly learned through VC, through startups, that the most successful person in the room isn't the smartest person. It's the person who said, okay, I'm just going to do it. And they made it happen. So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways.
Love it. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I think for me, really, going out of college, I was not really sure what I wanted to do. Like, I had kind of a pipeline to go into the more finance part, but what I really love about VFA is, and really not just VFA, entrepreneurship and startups in general, is there's so many different academic disciplines that can fit into that. So you don't have to just be like a business student, right? I mean, within our fellow class, there was such huge diversity in terms of experiences and academics, and they all found their role within the startup and within that industry. So if you're someone who's interested in, you know, healthcare, or you're perhaps a life sciences major, or anything in STEM, you know, computer science, there's always like a lot of roles in there for you within the ecosystem. And I think just that's where you find out that there are places you belong, and specifically within the entrepreneurship ecosystem, where you can take that experience you learn within the startups and do your own thing, if that's what you really love to do. Or you can, you know, keep building in that startup, you know, move to a different one. There's just so many different options there. And I think that's just like one of the biggest things that I took away from it is you might not know what you want to do now, but it's definitely a really great experience to find out, you know, there's so many of these options that you can take, and you're you're always going to learn something at some of them, if not, everything that you wanted. So I'd say go for it, take the risks, and I think it'll pay out in the end.
All really accurate and inspirational stuff. I agree with all of that. I think one thing that we've talked about a few times among fellows or former fellows is the proximity to people that are going to help shift your mindset, and how hard that is to get to. In VFA, if you join either a VC firm or a startup, you are by design going to be close to people that are setting the vision for an organization that's evolving. And I'm not knocking other career choices. I didn't do VFA. I came to startups, 7 years outside of undergrad. So it took me a while to understand the value of that. But if you come out as a fellow and you land there, you're with those people and you're seeing how they react to interesting circumstances and how they solve complex problems. If you come out and take a standard job at a large organization, you're going to learn stuff, certainly, but it's a different vantage point in an organization, right? And so I think it offers a really unique vantage point and a distinct opportunity that is de-risked in many ways, that you get to go into the startup community. You're not necessarily jumping out and starting your own thing and trying to find all the resources to do that and then do all the learning simultaneously. But you have 2 years to have this great reference point of other people that have jumped in and maybe have more experience, or certainly have more experience doing it, and you have a direct vantage point of how they're making decisions and failing at that or succeeding at that. And I think that is an enormously unique vantage point in the world that I haven't seen replicated in other circumstances. And again, it took me 7 years to get to a point where I was actually in a startup seeing other people's try and fail and close enough to learn from that experience. So I think that is just incredibly unique, and that's why I encourage folks that are sincerely interested in startups and venture capital to try this route.
And I think the biggest thing, too, is that if you are truly interested in starting your own company, specifically a startup, you can still be building your startup as you go along throughout this process. You have access to the same resources that possibly the company that you're working with has access to. And then, like I said, once you become an alumni, there's so many other resources that you're exposed to. But then also think about this. As you're working in that company, and you come into a problem, you're now connected to about 1,500 people who probably came across that same problem, and you can really connect and really try out the best possible product for you to come out of that. And so it's that immediate community. It's that access to resources that probably would take a little bit longer for you to curate on your own if you did not have access. But then it just also just opens you up to just opportunities outside the box that you could possibly be in right now. So just kind of put things in perspective on where we're at when it comes to the application process. We are now in our last deadline. Our last deadline is on March 1st. Once that deadline hits, we then start our interview process. And then after that, of course, we have selection day. And then offers are extended in April. We might extend the deadline, but please just stay connected with our UMKC partners here. We'll definitely let them know if those deadlines are extended. Feel free to just connect with myself or anyone here on this panel to kind of help push you all along. Well, if you are interested and you like to book time with one of our recruiters just to kind of learn a little bit more, feel free to scan this QR code. They'll be happy to talk to you all, give you all any more insight, connect you with other fellows that they might feel like fit your perspective, and then will allow you a little bit more time to actually make a decision. But yeah, that's all I really have. I want to open up time for you all to ask questions, and look forward to answering. Yeah, go ahead.
I started at Five Elms Capital. I actually transitioned from, being in an accounting role to basically a full-time business development role, connecting with private equity partners and sourcing deal flow for the firm. So it was a complete career shift for me, which is exactly what I wanted. I was candidly looking at other cities through VFA and thought, this would be a great way to jump into a new community, automatically have people there to connect with, and then, someday come back to Kansas City. But the great opportunity was right here. So I had a great experience, learned a lot. I mean, it was fast exposure to software in various industries. But again, it helped me realize that, hey, I want to be on the operator side, and I want to help build a company and be on the side talking to the VC. So that led me to Exponent. And now in that role, I'm honestly doing a lot of the same things. I'm talking to private equity partners. They're a lot of our clients. We are raising capital. We are making an acquisition. So there's just a lot going on within my business that I got to see on the other side, loosely on the investment side. So that's what I get to do in my daily role.
I think that so far, the VFA experience, especially like in Kansas City after summer camp or training camp, it's been really awesome.
Not summer camp at all.
Yeah, I keep saying that, but it's training camp. It is during the summer, though.
You're right, it is.
But the initial first couple weeks were really fun, and just trying to kind of get to know everyone within Kansas City. And specifically, there are also some other VFA fellows within Novel Capital that I've gotten to know very well as well, and that's been super fun. But on the more professional side of things in the job specifically, I mean, I've just been exposed to so much more than I thought that I would be going out of college, and being able to be more creative and self-sufficient and actually creating these processes that will end up being taken by the company and used, as value adds for our growth in the future. And so I think one thing for me was I really didn't want to just do one role. And so being in business development, kind of, I do have that main role, but I get to help on all different sides of the company, specifically like marketing and partnerships and helping with product optimization. And so that's been really, really life-changing, honestly, specifically coming from something that was more structured like finance. And so I really am looking forward to what we can do in the future. And I have a lot of hope with Kansas City in general as well for startups, as I can see how fast it's growing, and so I'm super excited.
And you started a company with other fellows, right?
Yeah, I started actually a fashion company with 2 other VFA fellows back in October, and we're slowly, starting to ramp up production where our first collection will be dropping in a few months. And it's called Villager Studio. It's the premise of it is we're taking kind of these roots from the villages of all the different types of backgrounds and countries, and that really connected to me because I'm originally from Bulgaria. My dad's side of the family, that side of the family came from the village, and there's so much like inspiration and creativity with how they take their garments and use them traditionally. And then so we wanted to kind of take those roots and bring them into the modern Western menswear silhouettes that you see nowadays, and kind of see this fusion of cultures, which has been awesome, and being able to kind of take from my background and things like that. So that's been really exciting. It's a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling, and hopefully a lot more to come soon. So.
Right. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, I got plenty to say, but go ahead.
I think it goes back to the last point I made, that the sincerity in that group to help bring someone along who's generally green but has a lot of energy and skills to bring to the table. They have to have some systems and capacity in place to actually support that person coming on. And so, certainly some startups are hungry for the opportunity, but when you're talking about this is a paid opportunity, you're a scaling startup, so I guess someone have to define what a startup means to you in that context, but this has to be someone that has capacity to teach, right? And so Novel and Five Elms are established venture capital firms. I mean, they have very entrepreneurial folks working there as well, and I can speak to Keith and Carlos for sure, and probably Yoav, but at Novel, these are folks that are great reference points, and they have those systems, but they have capacity to teach. I don't know, what else would you add to that as a great...
I would say also, I mean, the industry doesn't really matter, just because it's just about, can you provide that startup experience for our fellows, right? We want to make sure that you have a plan for upward trajectory, so that then you can also sustain that job for the next 2 years. And I think the great thing about VFA is it's not just about talent recruitment, but it's also support for those company partners. And so we actually found a way for us to actually connect you to all of those other company partners across our 13 markets, so that you can learn from them, but then also receive some of the same resources in those other cities that they might have as well. But a great diverse company partners, we have Canby's Markets is one of our company partners here in Kansas City. Then you can go as far as 5 Elms, Novel Growth. Startland News has actually hired one of our fellows too. And then even large corporations like Community America. And inside of their innovation department, they did show us that they were able to house a VFA fellow. That fellow did appreciate that opportunity just because it came with, for sure, a 401k and full benefits. But I mean, it's really just about, honestly, the conversation that I would have with the company partners, me vetting them through our board, just to ensure that we feel like that they have the sustainability to actually have one of our fellows in-house. And then also have a nurturing culture, right? These are, as exquisite as these fellows are, they are coming fresh out of college, right? And so how can you ensure that they are putting in work to help you grow, but you're also creating an atmosphere for them to learn and for them to really be the best employee for you in that space. And so
they can't be looking for a cog, right? They
Right.
can't be looking for... You're coming out, you have a finance background, that's what you're gonna sit in that corner and do finance. Like what you referred to is that I think the essence of what we would articulate to a good company partner is that, you're gonna have opportunity to look into a marketing strategy, be close to the vision, product strategy. You're having a real, view into those and an impact on the future of that company. So it cannot be that they're defining, I want someone to sit in this chair and do accounting all day.
Yeah.
There has to be some more variety than that to be a fellow.
yeah, a good green flag for me is like, I don't have a job description yet, so I'm just gonna throw something up and then we'll figure it out when they get here. And I'm like, all right, bet, you're a great company partner. Because honestly, that being stagnant is probably the fastest way for you to lose that fellow. Because the fellow came into the experience that we're giving them is that they're gonna come in there, they're gonna drive change, they're gonna wear multiple hats. The moment that they've been in that job, honestly, for 6 months and they don't have any actual mobility, they're hitting inside the transfer portal and be like, all right, where's the next job and next place that I can go to? We try to coach them not to do that, but those are the mindset that you kind of have to think of when you're coming to want to hire a fellow. It's a whole lot different than hiring somebody through a regular recruiting. These fellows actually want to drive change. They want to be an impact, not only in your job, but not only in your company, but in the ecosystem as well. I can hear you. I'm not a caffeine. Well, I am a caffeine addict. I try to switch to matcha. It's not what I thought it was gonna be. Uh, I did get some energy, but yeah, it's a little earthy. But well, go ahead.
I definitely am a caffeine addict. I can say that. Um, yeah, I stay off energy drinks, 100%. Just coffee. Tea's even better, but not as much caffeine. And in terms of your question, I did finance in school here, and president of the Financial Management Association last year. And so I was really going down this path to go into banking or something like that. But I think what really opened my eyes to startups and entrepreneurship was my venture capital internship. And because that's where we got to kind of see everything from an outside perspective. And I didn't even really know what a startup was before that, if I'm being honest. I liked tech a lot, and I knew that I liked finance. And so I had a general idea of what I wanted to do, but we actually had a presentation similar to this at my internship where a current fellow came in, shout out to Zach, and he kind of was the one that, you know, this was really a possibility for me when that presentation came up, because from there on I started looking for jobs, and I found Novel. Everything kind of went side by side with VFA, and I realized that there was this role for me which combines all my interests, and I just went with it. But really, to answer your second question, the second part of your second question, I think that what I wish I would have done in college was do more entrepreneurial things. Obviously, internships are awesome, but you know, you all have passions and hobbies, and there's always a way to turn that into something such as a business or a startup, whatever it may be. And that's where you really get to expand your network and learn the most about it, and how it's driving change in the world. So I would say really look into that. And then the second thing is networking was 100% the most important thing I did in college. I think that's how I really got any opportunity. So I think it's super valuable. I don't think it's taught enough in school, honestly. And I think it should be one of the main things, apart from school and apart from learning. But
Are you low-key looking for a cheat code for the application process? Okay, all right. So, I mean, just to be like plain, just real with it, right? The things that we look for through the application process is, did you have some type of upper mobility as a leader inside your college experience, right? Did you join a group and then eventually become an officer? And then as that officer, what kind of impact and growth did you have in that position, right? And so, and then also, can you verbalize your impact through metrics, right? We have to be very, very careful with the selection process, because like I said, we're putting you all, or we're connecting you all with jobs who are looking for high impact immediately, right? You have a learning curve, but it's not that much. And then also, what is it, not only are you going to get out of the fellowship, but what can you bring to the fellowship? Those are things that they want to know as well. How well do you know about our program? Did you have did you do your research? Did you connect with the fellow? Did you connect with some of the events that we have? Because we do have events that you all can be able to attend. Those are the things that we want to see, or we want to hear throughout that process, that you understand our mission and vision, you understand the impact that you can give and the impact that you will have. But then also, can you be the leader that we preach to our company partners that you're going to be? Because they're not only paying you, but they're paying us too. And so that value add that you bring has to me, surpass what their expectation is. So think about that as you're going through. If you're not a senior yet, or if you are a senior, can I look back as I'm going through this application process? Where did I have impact at? When was I a part of a group where I was able to find support? Or how are ways that I was able to maneuver around hurdles? I think that's the question that everybody asks in every interview, right? Give me an experience that you had where you've gotten some feedback, and how did you take hold to that feedback, and what did you do afterwards? Those are the things that you need to be thinking about, be in detail about as you're going through this process, and then just be authentic, because honestly, the process is built to be able to weed out those who are inauthentic. So be authentic in the space, and I feel like you'll do well in that process.
Then in terms of something you can do now too, something I wish I would have done was honestly just kept a roster of all my classmates that I had good relationships with. What were they interested in? Where, what did they end up doing after college? What class do we have together? Same thing with any business cards I got from business leaders. Start creating your own relationship management system in a very rudimentary way now, because man, I wish I could figure out who was that person I worked on that class project with, and they were awesome to work with, and I'd love to, reconnect with them or start a project with them. But, to Yvonne's point, I was super involved, and man, I was glad I was, because when you're an accountant trying to get a role at a VC firm, you can't just be an accountant, and I really had to rely on previous involvement at UMKC to land the dream role and move on to that next step. And so you never want to look back and wish you had done that thing or been in that organization. So yeah, get the experience now.
Yeah, join the Enactus group. Any more questions? Go ahead. Yeah, so once you have graduated, you have 3 years. So if you're still within that 3 years of after graduation, you still have opportunities to apply for the fellowship. But if you're outside of those 3 years, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to apply for the fellowship. But we will still invite you to engage with our community. So like I said, we'll have public events. We'll have validation challenges and things like that for you to be involved in. But right now, as the organization is at this point, if you're a graduate or you have graduated within the last 3 years, you can apply for the fellowship. I hope that answered your question.
Your background would be in very high demand.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, because a good majority of the fellowship is not very technical heavy, and those are the first fellows that have the feeding frenzy, and they end up, going to the highest bidder at that point.
Maybe I wish I hadn't started in public accounting and gone the less risky side. It always works out. I mean, if you have an idea of where you want to go, I don't regret it. It enabled me to come in with a technical background, add the soft skills to that, and it's just how you market yourself, brand yourself, network. So either option, either path can get you to where you want to go within startups. I think I got lucky just being 3 years out of college. I had already adjusted to adulting. I luckily didn't become a caffeine addict. So I already had that foundation. I had my community involvement, so I was kind of able to pull in other fellows into what I already knew here. If I had really stretched myself and gone to a different city, that would have been a whole different challenging process, which I was excited for and wanted to do that. And I think that is a great way to get a lot out of the program as well. But I think the hardest part is going from maybe a structured position to this scenario, and hopefully you're someone who thrives off of that and is great at problem solving, but just trying to figure out your own way and determine your interests when you don't always have, hey, here's the playbook of how you should do your role.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar as going into that environment where there is an unknown, and being able to take that and fuel your, whatever value add you're bringing to the organization and not be scared of the unknown, because that's where all the opportunity is possible. But other than that, I think, I mean, this shows a lot about VFA, but everything has been really smooth so far, and I think it's structured very well so that, you know, there's not many difficult parts. Obviously, selection day is more, I would say, nerve-wracking because you really want to get in, but as long as you're yourself and really take it one step at a time, then I think that you know, it's made for people like that, and I think that you'll do great in the process.
And I'm just to kind of be devil's advocate. Sometimes it's not all rainbows and unicorns. You know, we do have those times where fellows are not matched with the right company, right? And you know, we've had fellows who leave on the first day. We have fellows who leave after 6 months, just because it just wasn't what they expected it to be. But one thing that I can say is that VFA, as a national organization, we strive to make sure that you feel supported in all of those instances. So not only do you have a community director inside the city that will help you navigate those experiences, we also have our national team that you can reach out to and just let them know, like, hey, I'm going through a tough time, or hey, this opportunity is not what I expected it to be. And we, as an entire organization, try to fulfill you and give you the right resources to be able to navigate any situation that you might be in. So I would say, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm meeting with a transitioning fellow tomorrow for an hour just to talk about, like, what are their motivations, what are they looking for, what didn't work, how can we help them find the right location. So we're all hands on deck to support people when they need another scenario as well. So.
And let me say, that fellow, he just quit his job a week ago, and he's probably met with not only just the VFA staff, but probably 6 other people inside the Kansas City ecosystem who's currently right now looking for a job for him. And so you really get a full-on wraparound support to help you navigate those spaces so that you can be able to land in a space that you want to be. I think that's time.
Yeah, that's time. Thank you so much to our VFA panel. Round of applause. Excellent. This is great. Appreciate it. We have pizza outside, so you can feel free to stick around, hang out, come ask questions, meet everybody up on the panel. They can stick around for maybe a little bit, hopefully. Yeah, fantastic. Meet them, and we will be back here again first Wednesday next month. Come back, join us. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for coming.